Now, Nigeria's displaced population is rising, no thanks to increase in conflict, violence, and recently flooding challenges that have continued unabated, especially in northeastern Nigeria. According to a 59-page report by Human Rights Watch, more than 1 year after Borno state authorities began shutting down internally displaced persons camps in the state capital, Maiduguri, displaced persons have been left without adequate support for food, shelter, and security. News Central's Niyi Omoniyi has the detail.
Borno is one of Nigeria's northeastern states most hit by the Boko Haram conflict. Hence the massive increase in number of internally displaced persons in the northeastern region. As they struggle to meet essential needs, they are placed in further jeopardy by the closure of IDP camps in Maiduguri since December 31, 2021. As the authorities claim there has been an improvement in the security situation in IDP settlements. Aside the direct attacks and ill treatment, the increased danger of families being torn apart and of children being separated from other family members, a greater risk of sexual violence against women and girls, more exposure to health hazards, and restricted access to healthcare and other essential services are common threats to these internally displaced persons.
The fact is I have to take up this responsibility since the government is not doing much to provide for us. It wasn't ever our choice to be here, but I'm fulfilled putting smiles on people's faces here. It's not easy.
Heavy floods triggered by seasonal rains has further worsened the state of living in northeastern Nigeria.
This year there's a huge increase. We noticed that we have 1.7 million children who are suffering from acute malnutrition and they need immediate treatment. If we don't treat them, we will lose these children.
Meanwhile, Human Rights Watch report disclosed that the government had failed to provide a basic need for the internally displaced persons after moving them away from the camps.
That announcement that the camps would be shut down, all of the humanitarian aid going into these, IDP camps was stopped. So people are without food, they're without, sanitation, they're without, the basic necessities that was usually provided by, international humanitarian agencies such as the World Food Program.
What then can guarantee the protection of the displaced and its protection in northeastern Nigeria?
Cannot be in these camps forever. The conditions in the camps are by themselves not great. But this can only happen when there is an adequate plan that ensures that they are not worse off. If not, it could possibly amount to secondary displacement.
Yes, solution is to create the conditions, the security conditions, the development conditions for them to be able to go back home in safety and dignity.
Experts say as a matter of urgency, the authorities must act fast to provide for its IDP population, re-strategize its security architecture, and create a long-term plan of returning IDP to their settlement, among other measures. Niyi Omoniyi, reporting for News Central.
Now, join us live in Continental Prime to discuss the experience of internally displaced persons in Nigeria is Nigeria researcher, Africa Division at Human Rights Watch in Abuja. Anietie Ewang, very warm welcome to you. Thanks for joining us on Continental Prime.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Now, Anietie, the latest story makes one wonder how best this displaced people can be protected, and what can we do as a people to prevent displacement?
So I think it's very clear from the policies and the laws that exist on internally displaced persons and their rights that the primary duty bearer is the Nigerian government. At one level, the federal government, and at another level, the state government, where the displacement has occurred. In this case, Borno State, which was the focus of our research. And the main thing that we're taking away from all of the testimonies that we got from people who are suffering the impact of these IDP camp shutdowns is that they need their most basic needs catered to. And whether or not it's within the IDP camps or outside of the IDP camps, these people, these citizens of Nigeria require safety. They require adequate security to be able to, go out and make some livelihood for themselves, sustain themselves. And without this, there is no condition under which they should be displaced from the IDP camps where they've sought refuge in the first place because of the conflict and all that it's brought upon them over the last 12 years or so since it's been ongoing. So it's really the conditions. Many of them are not happy in the IDP camps because they want to go back to their homes. They want to sustain themselves. But under the right conditions, that's the mantra. That's what we keep saying. The conditions have to be adequate in terms of security, in terms of infrastructure, hospitals, educational centers, housing, to be able to support their lives and the lives of their loved ones in these communities. And without that in place, we see no reason why the authorities should go ahead and shut down the camps, which has in effect left them worse off.
Now, Anietie, we have a situation here where it seems like the government just puts in the cart before the horse. They're closing down IDP camps and there are reports of rising insecurity. And also you have a situation where you can't keep people in internally displaced camps in perpetuity. So what are the global best practices? What's the best approach to dealing with this? You have insecurity on one hand, you have internally displaced persons that do need to start a life and go back to where they came from before the conflict?
So in all honesty, we really appreciate the fact that this is a very difficult situation, especially in Borno State, which is the epicenter of the Boko Haram conflict. We have over 1.8 million displaced persons there. And it is quite a difficult issue to navigate for the authorities and even their partners that help to provide humanitarian aid in the state. However, I think it's recognized that there has to be adequate consultation and proper information provided to internally displaced persons to be able to allow them make their own decisions about where they want to go or what they want to do with their lives. There should be opportunities for them to resettle in areas that provide safety, security, and access to livelihood. And there should not be any effort to arbitrarily shut down camps without making sure that conditions for return or resettlement are appropriate and meet the needs of the people who require them. So without all of this in place, the Nigerian authorities, like I said before, have no business shutting down these camps. And what we've seen is that the camp closures have completely cut people off from humanitarian aid. People are without food, they're without shelter, and it's pushing them, even to worse conditions that they were in before the camps were shut down. It's not their fault that they were displaced from their communities. It's not their fault. It's their fault that there's an ongoing conflict. And the duty of the authorities at this point is to provide adequate support to allow them make decisions that allow for a life in dignity for them and their loved ones.
Thank you very much, Anietie Ewang, for your time and insights on the subject. We do appreciate.
Thank you very much for having me.